I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job.
About 10 minutes.
The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Hey, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the 222nd episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your amazingly wonderful, humble host, Christopher H. Bilbrey. Always happy to see you and be with you. Producer Kate is at the controls, making sure everything is running smoothly, so I don't have to freak out. We want to say hi to her. Thank you all for tuning in and giving us a bit of your time. We understand how valuable that is, and we are honored that you have decided to share some of your evening or your morning or your afternoon, wherever you are in time with us. Before we get into the show, we would like to ask you to all consider hitting that like button. That like button! One of these days, like button, bang, zoom, straight to the moon. I do want to remind you that it does not cost you anything to subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Subscribing does not cost you anything, nor does it give you anything. However, if you are a subscriber, you can then click the bell so you will be notified when we drop new content, when we go live, and all of that stuff. It's wonderful, I guess. I always know when we go live because I'm here. We're a very interactive show, and that means we want to hear what you've got to say, I guess. Please, if you want to comment, do it so over there if you're watching live. If you're watching in your own time on repeat or whenever, comment down below. We will try to get back with you. We do our best. Most importantly, please help us spread the word by sharing the show with everyone that you know. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, people out there, freaks, geeks, and weirdos, wherever you may be, whoever you may be with, whatever you may be on. That was for Alva. So here's the thing. I was going to talk about one thing, then I decided to talk about another thing, and then at 3 p.m. today, the day that this is being recorded and broadcast live, it's Tuesday, June 11th. And so we were going to talk about originally the study from the retreat. Kate's been working hard on putting all of this together. I think we're going to actually cover that tomorrow. And then I was actually going to cob on to another politically driven show, and we were going to kind of like steal it and watch it and commentate on it, give some commentary on it. But I think rather what I'm going to do is we'll probably save that. Man, I don't know. We might do that tomorrow and do the study on Thursday. I'll let you know. I'll talk to Kate after the show because there's a very important show going on. And I feel like we do need, I don't know what the show exactly is going to be like. So let me start this off. Let's erase all of that and let me say this. I have something in mind that I want to do, but I'm afraid doing it is sort of going to make me an asshole. Now, that does not bother me in the least bit. I don't care. The reason I'm thinking about doing what I want to do is because I think the most amount of people possible need to have access. Need to have access to the specific show, specifically the guest that's going to be on the show. There is no way in hell we would be able to get the guest on. There's just no way. They would not allow that to happen. So since we can't get the guest on, the next best thing we can do is we can cob the show and watch it and watch the show as it goes and give commentary on that. My fear is in doing that, I'm going to beat up kind of on the show for not pushing hard enough with the guest. And so I'm just letting you guys know, I guess that's all that matters to me. I don't really care. Look, we're to the point where, like I said, I wrote that email to Dan and co that like, I don't really care if they like what I do. I don't care if political people like me. Politicians aren't people. So we're going to talk about all of that. And I do see you guys in the chat. Some of you are talking about the fire department, talking about all of that going on. I made kind of an offhanded comment the other day about one specific issue with the fire department. And the Muncie Fire Department, now, okay, see, now, using Dan's words, my words are kind of getting extrapolated out. I didn't specifically mention the firefighter who was arrested for strangulation and blah, 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 blah. That did happen. I mentioned that just briefly, like last week. The most recent fire story I talked about was that there was an EMS, a Muncie Fire Department EMS personnel who was responsible for a patient care. And that EMS personnel's patient died. And that person is now on paid time off. And apparently the department is looking at getting ready to terminate that person. And hello there, Joey. And this is like the second or third patient that has died because of patient care or lack of patient care, on top of being the fifth or sixth kind of black eye for the fire department, because there have been 2 or 3 firemen or /EMS people that have been terminated and or arrested for stealing narcotics, plus the man that was in trouble for the cheating, and he happens to be a captain and the father of the fireman who was arrested for domestic battery. So I've had a lot of people say, like, when are you going to do a story on this fire department stuff? We will be covering that too. Maybe we'll cover something. Maybe we'll do a story like that this weekend. So we will do all of that. We will get everything there, and we will cover that this weekend. I will cover the story, and I'll tell you the show we're talking about. Well, I'm not going to tell you the show. Basically, the guest that I'm talking about beating up on, we have to get before this weekend, because this weekend is, I think this weekend is the Republican conference. Yeah, both of the people down in the duck are nodding. And when I say both, we've got Kate and a guest. We're getting ready to pull that guest up here in a moment and talk about what we're talking about tonight. The most important thing is what we're going to be talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people out there probably did not know that the Delaware County government today had a Delaware County Council meeting. A lot of people in Delaware County, I don't think, knew this. Now, ironically, citizens from outside of Delaware County, like maybe Joey knew it. Hell, Alva is from Louisiana. I saw Alva was in the comments. It's amazing. We've got more people watching Delaware County stuff from outside of Delaware County than actually Delaware County. And that's why, like, the Delaware County LIT tax is going to be raised and everyone's going to be sleeping on it. So the only thing I can say is our guest that I'm getting ready to pull up is not sleeping on this LIT tax. And I know that there are going to be some of you who are going to be like, oh, no, not this guest. But it is what it is. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Delaware County and America's Councilman, Ryan Webb.
Wah, wah, wah. I know, I can hear it now. What's he doing here? He's supposed to crawl in a hole and die because he got blown away by 68 votes.
Yeah, we killed him a couple weeks ago.
Well, those people would be happy to know. If you watch back the council meeting, I don't know if you showed it. I don't think they started recording the council meeting today until like the actual meeting. But the pre-meeting before today's actual meeting, they did name the commissioner's courtroom after me, and I thought that was a wonderful honor. And you know, look for that coming in the published ordinances that'll be coming out soon.
The Councilman Ryan Webb courtroom on the third floor of the Delaware County building.
That's a nice room to it. Better than room like 301.
Yeah, right. It's room 666. Oh God. Okay, so in all seriousness, there was a meeting today. Now, I had talked to a couple people last week, you being one of them, who told me about this. I didn't know about this. I knew this was coming up, but there was a special meeting today, and the point of that meeting was to discuss this salary study, which, again, also I only knew about after your last meeting when they first brought it up. So can you tell everybody what this salary study is?
Well, to be honest with you, shows how my memory is. I thought the commissioners requested it. I don't remember ever requesting a salary study. Jessica informed me today that the council requested it. I don't remember that because to me, all they did was what we're supposed to be doing for our jobs. So I don't think I would have. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody can go back and find a video of me possibly voting on it. But in my current state of mind, if that was brought up to me, I would say, no, that's our job to do. We don't need someone else to do a study to tell us how we're supposed to appropriate money. So I don't know how that one got past me. I'm not sure that it did. I thought the commissioners did that, but I could be wrong. But nonetheless, a lot of taxpayer money was paid to a third-party group to tell us how to be council members. And part of being a council member is setting the salaries, basically classifying all the positions, right? There's different tiers, different levels of county employees. And there was no real system other than us just, kind of evaluating. Well, we never really evaluated anybody, but basically we would allocate those pay increases where we thought where they were most needed. And this study helps to kind of put more structure to that.
Okay, well, that is why you're actually on here. I knew this meeting went today, and oh, there he went. We'll see. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just put in my earbuds.
Okay. Good. And we can't see you, but
hold on here. Let me get it down here. How about that? Can you see me now?
Yeah, okay. I can see you and I can hear you much better too.
All right. There we go.
That's good.
Yeah,
okay.
I had them in. I did. I just realized that the sound wasn't coming through my earbuds. It was going through it. I'm like, wait a minute, why are these not working? So wait a minute. You just said you have me on for the salaries. I thought you brought me on for them naming the commissioner's courtroom after me. My bad. Well, you're lucky. I happen to have all the information to help us out anyway.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Well, no. So the reason, because I started texting you because Kate asked a question. Do you know how much this study cost?
Off the top of my head, I thought it was like 40 grand. Someone else said no, it's closer to 80 grand. So wow. Somewhere between 40 and 80 grand, give or take. I mean, it's only tax money, right? 40 grand.
Yeah, right. It's not any of your all money.
Right. Except I pay taxes too.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. So what I mean by that is, okay, so $80,000 to basically do your jobs, that's kind of crazy. And so they came back and they like fixed everything and it's going to be easy. The budget process is going to be easy. And this all made a lot of sense, right?
Well, yeah, actually, no, none of that has anything to do with the budget. In fact, we're now going to have to debate that at budget time and say, okay, we all knew, listen, it's no secret. Everyone knew that the county employees were underpaid. I've been saying it my entire time on the council. We've been trying to fix it. What put us in this position was we got guys on the council, been there 30 years, and this is the way we've always done it. And they give $1,000 across the board raise every year. And some people just fell behind. And a lot of those guys' mind, $10 an hour is still a good job, right? So when somebody's making 30 grand or 28 grand, they think that's good pay. So it really took getting some new people in there to understand that we're moving past that this is the way that we've always done it. Now, the study, all it's done is basically categorize all the employees, and it's basically broken down multiple different tiers and designations, and then it's placed every single employee in a certain tier or designation. For example, previously we would look at everyone under the highway department, and we would say, okay, let's give the people in the highway department salary increase, and we'd go down the line: laborers, truck drivers, mechanics, all those things. Well, this new study has some employees from the highway department in a totally different tier with other departments. So it's no longer let's give this department a pay increase. Let's give this tier a pay increase. So you might be working in a department with somebody and they got a pay increase and you didn't, right? But if you guys are doing a similar job and you're basically classified in that same tier, same level, then when one person gets a pay increase, they all get a pay increase. We can't deviate and individualize them. It has to be either everyone in that tier or nobody in that tier, which I don't really like.
And yeah, and we had a question on here that what they wanted to know who did the study, and that was Waggoner, Earl, and Scheele, which is a very well-known group that does a lot of things in municipal government throughout Indiana, definitely management, central Indiana.
They're management consultants. They told us that by their estimates, there's up to 80 counties running this system. of some sort. For those of you who keep a track, there's 92 counties in the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
I don't know if they mean 80 all in just Indiana, but they said there's up to 80 counties running this process.
Yeah. So yeah. That's interesting. And they I'm trying to get something here pulled up here. So let me ask you the best way you think to do this. Do you want me to pull up the council meeting and go through that? Do you want to talk about it? I've also got the pictures that I have. Well, I mean, what do you think? We can do this whatever you think the best way to kind of break this down is. What is your?
In my opinion, watching the council meeting, really, unless you have the paperwork in front of you, it's very difficult to follow along with what she's saying. The only point, if I was someone who wanted to glean information from the council meeting, I would pay attention to the questions asked and then the answers given. Now, some of that was done throughout the meeting. Majority of it was done at the end. So for the purposes of this show, I would think we would probably be best going off with the paperwork, and then we could discuss a little bit of it and explain how the process works. I think if we do that, and then people can go and watch the video, or even maybe you can pull it up later in the show. Once we kind of outline the basics of what we're talking about, people might be able to follow along a little bit easier.
Okay, I'm pulling this up here, and they should be able to see it. Give me a second. Yeah. Okay, so we got this, and I'm going to try to blow this up. Give me a second here so we can see it. Should be able to do that pretty easily there. And then
if you were in the meeting, they actually, for one of the first times ever, they took advantage of the two giant big screen TVs that are in the the council. And this stuff was being displayed as we were going along, so people could see kind of. I mean, sometimes they didn't zoom in enough, but they tried to make an attempt so people could follow along. That's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, right. So
progress.
Slowly but surely.
I've been trying to get them ever since we've got those TVs to put our council agenda up on those TVs during our regular council meetings. That way people in the audience can follow along if they like. So maybe this is the first step we can get towards doing that. I don't know.
Wouldn't it wouldn't be easy. I mean, amazing for them to how easy it would be to kind of do that and show everybody. It's amazing how hard they work at not doing the very simple things.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been suggesting it, and it seems a pretty good common sense thing. Who knows? I'm a racist, homophobic piece of shit, so they probably won't listen to what I have to say, and we'll probably deviate away from that just because of that reason.
Ryan, can you tell me the name of the company one more time?
Yes, ma'am. The name of the company is Waggoner and Irwin and Scheele Management Consulting.
Thank you.
So instead of Steel, it's Scheele, SCH. Weird name. Scheele.
Isn't it SCHEELE?
Yeah. So instead of Steel, it's
Scheele.
Scheele, okay.
I think they pronounce it Waggoner, Irwin, and Scheele.
That makes more sense.
I think that's what there used to be a professor. I used to have a political something professor, Raymond Scheele, and I think he was connected to them somehow. But
they did a really good presentation. I got to give them credit. They answered questions. And they all three took their role and took their turn. So for those of you who don't mind sitting through those boring meetings, if you can watch it, there's a lot to benefit from it.
Yeah. So okay. Well, so I'm gonna just show this basically so everybody can kind of see the layout. I'm gonna blow it up bigger than this so we can actually see the numbers. and then move it around the page so we can see. So basically, what you can see over here, this says Delaware County, Indiana, job classification and salary analysis, June 11th, job category, labor, trades, crafts, LTC. And then over here in the first category, it's like your departments, your position, and then the FLSA status is if they are full-time, if they're hourly or salary, right?
Correct. And just real quick before you go any further, for those of you watching, if you see those black lines going from left to right, the dark all the way across, what that's doing is that's separating those categories that I was telling you about earlier, or those tiers. So all the employees that are in between the two black lines, they are all in the same tier, which I believe is LTCA for this one.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that second black line, all the employees underneath there, and then all the way till the next one, which is on the next page, they're all in the same tier, right?
Yeah.
And as Chris was saying, that first column, it just tells you the department, right? So I don't know if you guys can see, but it says jail. We're up at the top left-hand corner. It says jail, and then there's highway department, commissioner. So you got 3 separate departments right here just in this first column, where they're all these employees are in the same tier, and they're all in 3 separate departments.
So
right?
So you're basically looking at 3 people in the same tier, but you've got jail cook is in with highway laborer, highway in with justice center custodian supervisor commissioner. So that's the department they're under, the commissioner. But you're talking, the position is a custodian of the justice center, a supervisor custodial position, or a county building custodial position supervisor, or a bridge laborer on the highway department. And even though you've got the jail, the highway, the commissioner, being the boss, the highway, they're all the 3 wildly different things. They're all in the same tier.
Well, not only are they wildly different, so for those of you who understand how the county budget is structured, we have the main budget, which is called county general, that we pay things out of, right? And then there's several $1 million of completely different budgets that's all still part of the overall county budget, but it's not county general. Consider county general like your main checking account, right? And then you have these other budgets within that budget that departments, like, for example, the county highway department, half of that budget is paid out of county general, and then half of it is paid out of a different fund, right?
Yeah.
So when you have these employees in these different areas, all of that is out the window that we used to base it off of before. We would look at getting raises, like if you were an employee and you were paid out of county general, we might not be able to give you a raise because we don't have the money. However, if you are an employee that's in one of these other departments that gets your money from like user fees, and that money's there, right? It's not coming out of county general because the user fee automatically generates the revenue, then you might get a pay increase, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that's going to factor into this that's going to be tricky for us come budget time, because there you see 3 separate positions that before we would base on giving those people pay increases off of which budget they are paid out of, and if we had that money. We don't have that option no more. Now we have to pay them all based off of what tier they're in, right? They have to be paid out of the tier. So we have to look really closely when we're doing our numbers in the budget, because it's no longer a blanket across the board thing for all the employees in that particular budget.
So you're talking about the possibility of some people in a department getting a raise and other people in that same department not getting a raise, and having to deal with the fact that you could have some very pissed off employees.
Oh, it goes further than that.
Within the department, because, well, he got a raise, why didn't I?
Well, you're absolutely right. And now keep in mind, not all employees in the department do the same job. For example, this particular highway employee is a laborer, right? He's at a different status as an experienced truck driver who has a CDL, right? Or a mechanic who may also be in the highway department. So even though they're in the same department, they're not necessarily doing the same job, kind of. What this pay structure tries to do is keep people lumped together kind of on their job status based off of what they contribute to the county. Now, I'll give you another example of what you just said. People are going to be pissed. For example, the HR director, Pam McCannon, she has 2 HR assistants. Currently, there's $5,000 that separates their salaries, right? $5,000. Under this system, if we increase their salary and follow this direction, they will now both be making the same money. However, one of them will get a $1,000 raise. The other one will get a $6,000 raise. So now they're both making the same money. And now you have 2 employees doing the exact same job sitting there. Maybe one of them's been there 10 years longer, and they're pissed because they're like, this person's making the same amount I made. They just hired in 6 months ago. I've been here 10 years or whatever it may be. You know, they quickly move past the fact they just got $1,000 or $6,000 raise, and now they're mad that they're making the same amount as this person. You can say the same thing for truck drivers. Got a truck driver, been plowing snow for 20 years, and a guy coming in entry level, bam, he's going to be right at that level too.
Well, and then you're talking about, like, you know, the bridge labor, the truck driver for the bridges, they're in different tiers now. So one might get a raise, the other one doesn't get a raise, but they're out working on the same projects.
Let me even complicate it a little bit more for you.
Oh,
certain employees, like the truck drivers, right? They work on any position where you have continuous employment. Like, for example, 911 dispatchers, they're always working. County Sheriff's Department, they're always working. Possibly county highway drivers, right? Because they may have, they're always working overtime. Those guys work 40 hours a week, and their salary's based off that 40 hours a week. The people in the county building, the administrators, people in the clerk's office, the auditor's office, their pay is based off of 32 and a half hours a week. So they're only working 32 and a half hours a week, getting 40 grand salary, where the truck drivers get 40 grand salary, but he has to work 40 hours to get his money. Make sense.
I'm telling you,
I'm going to shut up.
It was a complicated system and process to begin with, and it seems like all this does is complicate it that much more, which is really just crazy. And I don't know. So if we run this across here, I know you're on the move here a little bit.
I'm getting my stupid dog out of the way because she keeps barking at me, so I made her get out of the room.
I never heard it on this end, but yeah, you're good. I understand how the dogs work.
I figured while I was up, I'd grab a beer or two. So
Hey,
I'm back where I need to be.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So to take this across, because I mean we've just barely scratched the surface of this. So to take this across, all right. So we're just looking at this first tier here, the LTCA. Okay, and that's the jail, the cook, highway laborer, highway commissioners, justice center, custodian supervisor, commissioner, county building, custodian supervisor, and the highway laborer bridge. So just in this first thing, basically the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th column over.
Can you put your cursor on it?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Where people can see where you're at.
Right here.
I don't know if it'll help them follow or not.
Yeah. I've got this blown up really good.
Okay.
So you should be able to see it's this 2024 salary. So in the top line it says $36,259.44. This is where we're looking, folks, in this category. What this is, Ryan, is you're saying that this first $36,259.44 is the salary that this person, the first cook, is getting in that first line, correct, this year?
That is correct. And you can run that all the way down the page, that column. That is how much those employees' base salary is at this time.
Yep. So everyone on this column and it doesn't matter when you jump tiers, this fifth column over is what they're getting paid this year.
Yeah, I think we should probably, just for the sake of understanding, we're just going to talk about the first tier to give you the understanding of how the process works, and then you'll just know that is applied to all the tiers.
Yeah,
but that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah. So we'll just be focusing on these because it works for the same across the board for everybody.
Yes.
And then basically what happens then is I will post these pictures up on my social media. And for those that don't have either Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I'll post a link in the description so people can go in there and see them. You'll be able to see them from there, but I will post a link for everybody to see all of this. But so, okay. So then the next line where it says 24-hour salary, basically that's that $36,259.44 broken down into what they get paid an hour.
It's their hourly rate. Yes.
This year.
Yes. So for this person at $36,259, he's basically making $17.43 an hour.
Okay.
Pardon me.
That's that. And then the next line, it shows their annual work hours. So for the 2024 year, this first jail cook, it looks like this year he or she's going to work 2,080 hours.
Yeah, this is a great column of what I was explaining earlier, how some employees work 40 hours a week and some employees work 32 and a half hours a week. If you look at that column, the first 4 guys, they're working 40 hours a week and they have a total of 2,080 hours. So annual work hours. So 2,080 hours, right? A year. But if you go down to the third from the bottom and fourth from the bottom, that employee works 1,690 annual hours. So you're looking at, it's almost 500 hours. No, I'm sorry, 400 hours difference between one employee and another over the course of an entire year. So that's what that is. And that goes all the way down. So basically it should either just be 40 hours or 32 hours. So it'll be one of those two numbers, either 20,000, 2080 or 1,690.
Yeah. And so that's that, like you said, that is it shows you the difference there.
This whole tier really has a whole bunch of great examples in it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got a mix of 40 hours versus 32. It's got a mix of different departments. It's got it all.
Yeah.
It's a good column to go off of.
So then jumping over here, this is highlighted on here. There's two columns that are highlighted, and this says internal analysis, and we've got internal base salary in one column and internal base hourly rate. So basically it's just breaking it down off those other two over there. It's breaking it down salary versus hourly, which is fine.
Yeah.
And
so
what this is.
So basically, if you look, how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 employees in that first tier, right? They're making anywhere from $33,000 up to $43,000. They're making anywhere from $17 an hour to $21 an hour. So what this first column that's highlighted does, it says you take those 7 employees and you average what they're making. That's why all of those dollar amounts are close to the same right there. They're except based off of how many hours they work. So if you average what they're making for salary, those guys who are working 40 hours a week or 2,080 hours a year, their salary, if we averaged them all out, would be $39,446. Okay. Well, if you go off just the guy on the first line, that means currently he's at $36,000. So he's about $3,000 under their average. But if you go down to the highway labor, he was making $43,000. So they're telling him that the average is 39, you're making 43, right?
Yeah.
So that's all that is. That's an average. And then to the right of it, that second column highlighted right there, it breaks down their hourly rate if they were all averaged on either 40 hours or 32 hours. So basically those guys would go from making $17.43 an hour to $18.96 an hour. And the other guys would go from making like $21 an hour to $18.96 an hour if they were all averaged.
Yeah, right.
This is a hypothetical world. If we all put you in the same tier and we averaged it out, this is what you guys would be making.
Yes.
So as you see, some are better off, some are not.
Yeah, right. And so, and you can compare this 2024 salary here to that to see if where they stand. So really, the highlighted it matters because people can see where they are, but it's not something that they're going to or whatever. Where we start getting into kind of the big things are then these next columns where it says the 10% below average is written up there, and it says external low salary, external low hourly rate, and so what is that column?
First of all, go up just a smidge where I could see them, and then move it over where I could see the orange, yellow, orange.
Okay.
So you got 10% below, you got external average, and then you got 15% above average. Okay.
Yep.
So what this is, we've already told you what those employees are currently making. We've already told you what they would be making if we averaged them out and we were on a system like this, a tiered system. This is what they would be making. Now, if we're going to base it off of all the different surrounding counties and cities, I'm not sure if I had it here somewhere, but okay. So real quick, guys, Blackford County. These are the counties that they've compared Delaware County to, okay? Blackford County, Clark County, Grant County, Henry County, Jay County, Madison County, Monroe, Randolph, Rush, Tippecanoe, and Vigo counties. Also the cities, Anderson, Bloomington, Marion, Muncie, Newcastle, Richmond, Terre Haute, West Lafayette. The reason that's important is because Delaware County doesn't have the same population as other counties. Our average median household income is ranked 89th out of 92.
Jesus.
So yeah, we're a poor county. 25% of our residents live under the poverty line. Okay, so if we could flash back to the screen you had up a second ago, the averages and below average. So when they compared these tiered positions, keep in mind, they said 80 counties have tiered systems just like this. So when they found those same employees in those same tiers, they looked and seen what they're making, right? And they've determined if we go through that middle one where it said the two are highlighted in yellow and it says average, external average. That is what these employees are being average paid in these other communities, averaged out over the however many it is, they're 10, 15, 20 counties. Yeah. So for example, the top line, the average county for the jail cook is $41,277. Remember, our guy's making $36,000. Right?
Okay, wait, pause on that. So the average, if you take all of those cities and counties and you average together, which in the city, they wouldn't be the cities because only counties have jails. So it would be all of the other counties.
Well, I said jail cook, but remember, there's multiple employees in this tier. Also, highway laborers.
Well, sure. Okay, that's right.
Any of the employees that are in this tier.
In that tier.
Yes.
That's good. So anyone that's in that, our guy over here, like you said, is making in the top line. He's the cook over here. He's making $36,259.44, and the external average here is making $41,277.
Right. And those who are on a 32-hour week, the average is like 33,000, right? Yeah, okay. So it's a significant difference, but it's the same hourly rate, $19.84.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you get caught up in the actual salary and going, wow, that guy's making 10 grand more or whatever, really what it breaks down is what's the hourly rate. And if you notice, their hourly rates are all the same.
Yeah.
All it's doing is giving us a total if they work 32 hours a week or 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what it is average in all these other communities. So what they give us, and this is what you see, the two orange, the 10% below and the 15% above. This company, this consultant company who provided us this study, they broke down and said, okay, if you guys want to reach and pay your employees the average, that's the dollar amount highlighted in yellow, those columns. That's the hourly rate, and that's the salaries for those employees. But let's say you don't have quite enough money in your budget. You can't quite get there. So let's go the below average route. That's the column to the left. That is 10% of whatever the average was, just a 10% decrease, right? So if it was $100, now it's $90. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what that is. Well, let's say we have a little bit more money in our budget. You know, Tony's bringing in the federal inmates, Mr. Polk is rocking and rolling on the interest generated. Well, let's say we want to go above and beyond and give our guys the more than the external
15,
average.
yeah.
That's 15% above it. So if you
Okay.
look at those dollar amounts, if the average is 41,000, the low end would be 37,000, and the high end would be 47,000.
Okay.
So what they're really telling us here is, hey guys, your county employees are underpaid. You need to adopt this salary structure, and at minimum, or what you really need to do is at least hit the average, the ones
Yeah.
highlighted in yellow. But if nothing else, no matter what, you should at least hit that minimum one where it's 10% below average.
Right. Because if you go back here again, you know, this guy's getting 36,259, but the 10% below is 37,149. So, you know, you would be jumping that guy up, you know, about $900 more, give or take, you know, well, but
No,
see,
he'd be
his
making over-
hourly's about the same. What?
Yeah, the hourly, so it's not a lot. It's only like 46.
It's not. Yeah, you're right.
on the
I see
hour.
it there. Yeah. All
Right.
right. I see that. Yeah.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Going to this system and say you're going to do the 10% below average, what happens to the people who are above that mark?
See,
That's a good
I
question.
knew you would bring good questions too. So this
Yeah.
is the part. Remember we were talking earlier about people are going to be pissed. Okay,
Yeah.
This is it. So let's say you're making 50 grand. We're going to go nice, easy numbers, right?
I would love to make 50 grand, Ryan.
And they tell it, and they tell us, and let's say that Chris is making 60 grand, right? And they tell us, look, guys, you guys do the same job, right? You're in the same tier, not necessarily the
Yeah.
same job, but you're in the same tier. And they say you guys need to hit that minimum, all right? Is 55. Well, what does that mean? That means you're getting a $5,000 raise. Chris is already paid $5 grand more than that. He's paid $60,000. Well, we're not going to take money away from him, right? But we're also not giving him a raise. So he's going to stay at his 60. You're going to now move to 55. Now
Yeah.
what? Now let's fast forward to the next year. It's time for salary increases again. Bam. The pay structure goes up a little bit. Now it goes up to 58. So you're going to move up $3 grand to hit that 58. Chris still ain't getting a raise because he's still at 60, right? So basically what it's going to do is sets up a scenario. If you're already making more than what it is, then your peers next to you are going to get a raise this year, probably next year, probably the year after, and you're not going to get one until they catch up to what you're
Yeah.
already making. Then you will move forward with everybody else in the tier.
So
Nobody's
time-
getting a pay cut.
nobody would get a pay cut.
No one's getting a pay cut. I'm just not getting. If you and I are these people, and I'm making 60, and you're making 50, they're going to raise you up to where you're making the same thing. They're going to keep raising you up.
Yeah, but
You're going to get raise, and maybe for the next 5 years, I'm not going to get anything.
He's
Well,
not going
but-
to get nothing because they think he's already over what the average standard is. Eventually, it'll catch up to him, and then you'll both get raises at the same time. But you will catch him.
But here's my question though. So I've been on the job for a year.
Yeah.
I'm obviously an important person if I make $50,000. a
Yeah.
year.
Right.
But Christopher's been doing the job for 10.
Mhm.
So his experience and knowledge of the job and all this other stuff, I think he'd be somebody that you'd be wanting to give raises to because he has the know-how, he has the time, you know, he knows everybody, he knows what he's doing. He is not going to screw stuff up. Me being a newbie, I could screw stuff up. I don't have that experience, but I get raises for the next 5 years and he's just stuck. So his experience counts for dick.
Right.
Well, to an extent. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, keep in mind, these are base salaries. This is the base salary level, okay? We still have the ability as a council to recognize things. For example, they used to have longevity. We don't do longevity no more, but there are mechanisms in place. I know, for example, Let's go with the county highway department. They may say if you hire in entry level, you make the base salary. If you hire in and or you have 5 years experience driving a truck, you're going to make the base salary plus $1,000. Or if you got 10 years, base salary plus $2,000. And then for every 5 years, keep going up $1,000. If I'm a department head and I'm turning in my budget to the council, that's how I'm going to structure my pay structure. I'm going to make sure that this is nothing but a starting point for me. And then my team, who's been here for a while, who's got 20 years experience, who's educated, maybe they got a college degree, maybe they got a military background, and they're due extra money. I'm going to submit my budget to council with those employees making a little bit more than what that base salary is. Maybe a lot more. Maybe it's, let's just say this is the sheriff's department and you're talking about a lieutenant versus a deputy. Well, okay, he's going to have more money. He's going to put more money on that. That's the part where the department head still has a say-so in what their people make. And then we as a council have to decide if we're going to say okay or if we're going to strike it and knock them down to the same level as everybody else. Now, I'll tell you, in a perfect world, we're going to say, okay, that guy's been here 20 years. He deserves to make $5,000 extra. But when the money gets tight and the rubber hits the road, that's going to be the guy that doesn't get that extra, right? When everybody's moving on slowly and everybody's getting a minimal $1,000 raise or whatever, he may get left out that year. You see what I'm saying? In a perfect world, he's going to be recognized. When the money's tight, I don't know.
Does experience allow you to move tiers? Or
sure, yeah. I think it would, because they currently do that now. In the matter of fact, what I think it'll do is it'll encourage employees to move from different departments, right? And it may be discourage employees from moving to other departments. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. They may want to go to a different department because that particular job classification is a higher tier. Maybe it's 2 levels up, 3 levels up, who knows? And vice versa. Maybe they don't want to go to a department because it's 1 or 2 levels below what they're currently making. That's going to factor in. It's going to be something we're going to have to work out.
Well, that's what, a lot of the people in the comments are talking about. You force people into retirement and hire somebody cheaper at a lower tier, or, you have people that just say, fuck it, I'm done because I've been passed over for raises.
Well, I can tell you that the elected officials tier, some of them are higher. The county council significantly lower. It cuts pay from $15,000 to $12,000. Now, so I mean, it's bothered me so much. I'm actually leaving after this year because of it.
Oh, wow.
Good. I love it.
I don't think they're going to cut their pay. That'll be the one recommendation they ignore. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing our commissioners make more money. I think our commissioners currently make $33,000. That's an important position. That's something that takes up a lot of time. We need full-time commissioners. I would like to see that the commissioners pay around $50,000 because we can encourage more of the Stephen Brand types who will make it a full-time job and not just something that they're doing on the weekends or whatever, because we need commissioners who are invested full-time.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you right now.
I would fully support that.
I'm going to tell you something I'm absolutely shocked to see is the commissioners in Henry County, Bobby Plummer and Steve Dellinger, man, they work down there 80 hours a week. They have office. They're like professors, man. Like they're like, all right, we got office hours. Come see us. They let people come in and talk to them. You can go in there. They are in there and they are there working. They're in there talking to people. They're in there. They're traveling. They're going places. It's really amazing to me. And I've not seen that out of almost any other place. Maybe the only other place I've seen that is like when you start getting around the donut counties down out near Indy, but it's really shocking to me. And I think Delaware County, it is a big enough county. We should have something like that. We should have people that are full-time or nearly as full-time as possible.
Yeah, I would support it. And people say, well, do we have the money? We've always got the money. It's just, do you want to make the hard decisions to make sure the money's there?
Right.
The money's there. We got like $70 million budget. It's there. We just got to figure out where we're going to allocate it.
Right. Yeah.
Now,
So,
I will tell you, I'll tell you, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about this here a little bit further on, but this salary study was only identifying job classifications and putting a label on employees and basically putting them in a box and say, you are this tier, you are this level,
yeah.
and this is the amount we think that level of employee is worth. It did nothing to address staffing levels. Are you understaffed? Are you overstaffed? Do you have too many people in this office? Which, in my opinion, I think we can cut out probably 10% of our employees, at least 5%, anywhere between 25 to 50 employees. And when I say that, people are like, oh shit, he's firing people. They want to cut jobs. No, let me say it very clearly. There's an easy way to do this. Delaware County has a very significant turnover rate. All you have to do is identify the number of positions that you want to let fade away in each department, and then as an employee retires or as an employee quits, as an employee transfers, we simply don't refill that position.
Yeah, right. That's common
all
sense.
you have to do. That's it. The reason department heads don't want to do that is because when their budgets are funded, that position's funded. So if Bill Bree is going to be hired as an employee somewhere and they want to pay him $50,000, that money's in that budget. And when they don't hire him, let's say that position is open and they say, oh, we got to get a guy, and January comes, February, March, April, they don't hire nobody. Well, all the money that was budgeted for those months, that's now freed up money. So then you know what they do? They then come to the council and say, hey, guess what? I want to buy this badass new copier that you guys wouldn't approve for me last year. But don't worry, I don't need any extra money. I've got the money right here in my budget. I just need you to transfer it from this employee line to this and let me get my copier. And 10 times out of 10, the council will go, well, they're not asking for new money. It's their money. Hell with it. Let them have it. And that's the game. And that's what people do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we watch that play out every month. I mean, it's insane. You see that. So a really astute viewer here says, I know a job you could cut. You could cut in the stamping department. And that is a very interesting because that person who, let's face it, there have been a lot of people who have talked about whether that position needs to be full-time or part-time, or what's going on in that position, what's the duties of that position. Right now it seems like that duty is almost, if you're the mailman of the Delaware County, it's almost like James Bond. I mean, you're doing everything. But I mean, sorry, I want you to go ahead about that, but just that's put into a tier right now that you can't do just something with that. That's a screwed up thing. But go ahead with what you were going to say.
Well, I've been trying to get that position not necessarily eliminated. First of all, I think it can be eliminated. I think department heads can handle the mail.
Sure.
Same thing they do when this employee's on vacation, or when he's at doctor appointments, or whatever it is he does when he's on Facebook. Department heads do that job, right?
Yeah.
So I've argued against that job being in existence, period, forever. It used to be a part-time position. The commissioners came to the council wanting us to make it a full-time position. I argued like hell against it. This was 2 years ago. And this was nothing more than a political favor to get a county employee who earned 8 years as a county council member. They wanted to make them full-time because once you get 10 years in, you get your pension. And they wanted to do a political favor and make this employee full-time so they could get their pension. I fought against it. I lost. And now this employee's full-time. So I would have an uphill battle to get this position eliminated, but I still think at minimum it needs to be a part-time position. And that's what I'm going to be able to push for. But to give you an example, some of the positions that are on the same level as this are now the recording secretary in the auditor's office, which is the young lady who's up there in the council meetings, the deputy clerks, all the deputy clerks in the clerk's office, the prosecutor's receptionist, the sheriff's receptionist, the planning commission's assistant, the health department's payroll clerk, or the highway department's payroll clerk, the veterans office. So all these different offices, the deputy filing clerk, they're all on the same level as the mailroom guy now. So I asked about that because in this scenario, this employee is baseline currently at $30,000. All these other employees are like $38,000, $35,000. One of them's at $40,000. The commissary clerk is at $40,000. Now they're on the same level. So this employee is going to go up anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 pay increase.
It's insane.
Yeah. So to give you guys an idea, so on that the sheet he has up on the screen right there, all the way to the far right, what that is, that it says cost analysis. That is how much the increase is for the employee. If you do the base one, which is the average everyone else is making, or if we go to the midpoint, right? Or hold on, let me take that back. The one on the left is what it would be if everybody was making the same amount in that tier right now, right? Yeah. The average. The one on the right is what it's going to be if we adopt the average per county all around us. You see what I'm saying?
So this 3,186 would be the total if we bring this up to where everybody's making the same. Then it would be this. That's why there's some zeros here.
Yeah, that person, if everybody was averaged, that person would basically, right now, if we implemented this system last year, that person would currently make $3,000 more if he was just paid what the average of everyone in his tier was paid. If we just implement this system and say, no, we're going to pay you the average of all the people around us locally, right, and all the other counties, it's the column on the right, which is $5,000 increase you would get.
And then that would be them getting like around here.
Yeah, that would be like the if we said we're going to pay what all the other counties averages. Remember, you had the 10% below and the 15% above. The one in the middle, the average. That's what that is.
Okay,
that's what that is.
Yeah.
So $5,000. So if we just adopt the average, this employee's due to get a $5,000 pay increase.
Yeah.
And if you scroll down and you see those zeros, that's to answer Kate's question earlier when she said, well, what if I'm already making more than that? Those are the people, those zeros won't get nothing because they're already making more. That. Right.
Yeah.
And that page is pretty reasonable. You see $1,000, $1,100. That's pretty normal raise. But it's when you get in some of the others, $19,000, $27,000. You know, the mailroom guy, $6,000. $6,000. That is a full 20% pay increase.
Yeah,
that salary is already at 30 now, so that's a 20% increase.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has a take-home vehicle.
And the take-home, the Batmobile.
That wasn't factored in.
The mailmobile. Yeah.
The value of that. So I really knocked down in pretty hard on that and asked because I immediately identified that. And I asked the question, I said, wait a minute, what if I don't agree with your study that this one particular position is on the level of the other positions in their tier? Could we not do the increase for that job? And they warned us that if we did that, we could likely be sued for discrimination. They kept throwing around the word equity, which I hate that word. I don't believe in the equity shit. But they kept saying equity this, equity that. And they said if we did that we would basically could be sued for sexism, ageism, blah, 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 because you're taking an employee who they've identified as the same as all these other employees, and we're giving them pay increases and not this person. And my argument is I don't view that position as the same as the others. But because this study put it in there, we have to swallow it.
That's nuts. That's really, really crazy.
And yes, you can't give raises for some and not others. And they're in the tier.
So the counselors have no authority to say, hey, listen, our job description on this one is different than what you're identifying it as. So they don't belong in this tier. They belong in this one over here.
Well, that's what there's. In order for us to do this, they presented us ordinances to classify these as the job descriptions. So we would have to pass the ordinance saying we now agree that the job description is what you say it is. Once we say that, then yeah, we don't have the authority to say this position here, we don't agree with that. This is what I brought up, and anyone who watches the meeting at the end, and you'll see the question and questions being asked. This was my concern. I said, we're taking away the traditional authority that the councils had where we determine the pay rate. We determine how many positions there are and how much those positions get paid. When you lump 30 guys, 30 women all into one tier, I no longer have a say over these 30 positions. I have a say over this tier, right? It's all or nothing. You completely take out the individualism. If I say, man, I got this employee, he's been kicking ass all year long, and man, I want to put a $3,000 pay increase for him in the next year's budget. And someone on another department, maybe they've not been doing so great. Well, this employee now gets held up because these guys, aren't necessarily worthy of a raise. Now, maybe that can be changed a little bit in those. That's the part that remains to be seen, because this is base salary. So if an employee, a department head, wanted to put some extra in for his employee that he thinks is doing a good job, that might be possible to do. We just can't go less than the base salary.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the, when they have those end columns, this is what the average is. This is the average for the everybody around us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the bottom line? What is the total amount that it would cost to increase everybody up to the average? And what is the internal average? And what is the cost? Oh, look how pretty.
Now that's per tier. We don't have it. I don't think. Maybe we do. I haven't noticed it, but I know they do a total. They do a total per tier.
Yeah. Look. This is just the first. This is just the first. Yeah.
And it breaks it down. This is your percentage increase for this tier of employees, and this is how much this tier of employees costs. But that I don't remember them giving us a complete total. I'm gonna have to sit down myself and add all these up.
Write this down, Kate.
I'm gonna go pull them one by one.
Well, hold on. I'll tell them to you. Just add this up. So for tiers LTCA, LTCB, LTCC, and LTCD, E, and F, basically it says total cost. So write this total cost down. 94. Well, you got to write down both those numbers, I guess.
Right.
The only problem was there's one or two pages that wasn't included in that because it was just the page 2. So you're not going to have the total.
Oh, that's right. Well, we'll have, I guess, kind of close. 19,335.52. 94.
Let's do this. Hold on. Hey, let's do this. I have this right in front of me. Let me read them off. Because you don't have everything.
Yeah.
I do have
read
everything.
It off.
All right, read them.
Okay, we're going to go with the cost to the midpoint, which is the middle ground they want to get to.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Okay, so we have $166,000, $166,263.86. Tell me when you got that.
Go.
And that's a 12.7% increase just for that particular tier. Okay. And then move on over here to this next one. The total cost, $343,424.60. And it is a 15.88% increase. And for those of you, that's Sheriff's Department. Okay. That's the Sheriff's Department stuff. The first one was like Health Department, a few other different ones mixed in. The one I just gave you was Sheriff's Department. And just so you guys know, the Sheriff's Department and the commissioners are literally 50% of the county budget.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next one up. This looks again like correctional officers. And they are also looped together with 911 dispatchers. So that total is $567,340.65 with a percentage of 11.94%.
Well, we're over $1 million.
Next up is our paramedics EMTs, $197,150.78. That's 11.2%. Next up is the investigators from the prosecutor's office and stuff. Prosecutors is a big one. So $61,342.50 for an increase of 12.05%. And just so you guys know, we just increased the prosecutors last year against my wishes in the middle of the budgets or the middle of the season up to 85,000. It was like 60,000 and it went up to like 85,000. So it was a large increase. And this goes even further to hit up that, just to get off track real fast. I think the midpoint is like I'm sorry, these are the investigators. That's just the investigators, not the actual prosecutors. My bad. So, all right, next one is this is like highway department employees and stuff. The number is $94,343.41 for an increase of 3.99%. And then we have looks like assessor's office, treasurer's office, prosecutor, auditor, courts. This has a bunch of them mixed in here. And it is $413,078.39 for an increase of 10.08%. And let's see, is that all I got for the tiers? Okay, prosecutors here. Or no, I'm sorry. This is chief deputies. Ready? This is just the chief deputies. For the chief deputies, guys, they want to make the chief deputies at 85% of the current elected official in that office, right? So currently they're all making like 37, 38,000. They want it to go up to like where is it here? Like 49,000. Basically like $12,000 pay increases for each of the chief deputies. So that total is $60,139.74. And then for like the it's a different tier. It's like the sheriff's chief deputy, the head matron, health officer, master commissioner. The total there is $40,185.31, 11.88%. Now remember, guys, this is just the increase in salaries, right? Here's a tricky one. Currently, all the coroners, deputy coroners, when they go on a call, they get, I think, like $25 to $100 per case, depending on the call, right? They go to show up to a scene, whatever. They either get anywhere between $25 and $100 per run. They want to increase that 75% to $80 to $250. So anywhere between a minimum of $80 up to $250 per call. Wow. We're talking hundreds, right?
Yeah.
So
1,000% increase.
That's a big difference. Yeah, big difference there. And then let me see here. That is the public defenders. That one I don't have. The deputy prosecutors is like a whole nother level. I can't even give you the total because it's such a wild structure. Basically, currently those guys are at like 85,000, and they want to base it off of how many cases they've taken, whether they're meeting job. They have a whole point system if they've exceeded expectations, how many jury trials they've done, how many felonies they've done, how many misdemeanors, how many homicides, how many forfeitures, all that shit into one big pie to determine their pay. And they want to base it off of years of service. And currently, most of these guys all have anywhere between like, they've got like like 5 or 6 deputy prosecutors have at least like 20 years of service, right? Or 18 years of service.
Yeah.
And that's like 126,000. They want to go from like 85,000 to like 126,000 on these guys. I don't have an exact number for the prosecutors, so I can't tell you how much of an increase that is. I think we have, I don't know. Well, I had it written here somewhere.
So it's about $50,000 per prosecutor, right? Or 40,000.
Here it is. We got them right here. I got the number. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ready? It's
Yep.
$182,365.41 for an increase of 20.57%. This is on top of their massive pay increase they got last year, right? You got to always remember that. This is on top of what they got last year. This is also, guys, based off of base salary, right? Think of all the overtime we burn through on 911 dispatchers, sheriff's department deputies, correctional officers. These dudes are smoked. They'll easily work 70 hours a week sometimes.
Yeah.
So when you increase the base salary, you increase the overtime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever this percentage is, that's going to go up in overtime as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're breaking it down by an hourly rate for the averages.
Yeah.
And then it's time and a half.
Absolutely.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And then finally,
there's another one? Goody.
Yeah, we got some more. This
Some
one
more.
is the commissioners, human resources, CASA planning commission, court administrator, highway department, superintendent. This increased $79,369.39, or 10.08%. So you got somebody like, I'll use the highway superintendent, for example. His base salary on there is $56,000, but he works like 70 hours a week too. So on paper, it looks like he's getting a lot. Now, keep in mind, he's also several of these positions are transferring them from hourly employees to salary. He's one of them. He's going from making $56,000 as an hourly employee who works a ton of overtime, probably north of $80,000 a year, I bet, if he works hard. And now they're going to put him on salary where he's going to make $75,000 a year or whatever. So it looks on paper like he's getting this massive $20,000 increase, but he's really going to make less money.
He's going to have to go get a second job to make what he makes this year.
Yeah, because he's still going to put those same hours in.
Yeah, right.
Still going to work those same hours. And then I think that might be it. And then it's got the elected officials. You know, that they're varying. We're currently, all of our elected officials make basically the same amount, which is $56,136, and it's got it fluctuating from 61 to all the way down to 37 for the commissioners. So it just depends. They want the commissioners to go from currently 33,000 down to 37, and the council to go from 15,000 down to 12. So, but that's it. What do you got for the?
But you, according to state statute, you cannot legally decrease an elected official salary, correct?
Well, that's a good point. I don't think you can do it during the year. You can do it in a budget. You can't do it in the middle of the year.
You can't do it in the middle of a year, but you could do it at the budget.
Yeah, we could budget for it.
I don't know about that.
A lot of times municipalities and local governments will put it in their ordinances that what the salary is cannot be decreased even during budget season.
There's no risk of anything getting decreased. The council's not going to decrease their own salary.
I'm
just saying.
I think commissioners should get more. So because we just upped the coroner to make the same as all the other ones last year, and in this survey study, they're trying to drop him back down to like $35,000 or something. Which is basically damn near cut him in half. So that might come into play, but I'm almost positive it has to be during it, but you can't do it during the year. I could be wrong. Who knows?
So what was the total of that?
Oh, you want to know the total?
Yeah.
There you go.
Let me get a pen. Okay, you wrote it down. You got it. 2. Hold on. Put that back. 2203.
I'll get your comments up as soon as he's done writing.
541.
Okay, so this is the monies that are additional to what is currently budgeted that would need to be budgeted for next year to get everybody up to where.
And that was not the top line, right? That wasn't the top line. That was just the.
That was the middle one. Yeah.
That was the middle one. So it could be a lot high. I mean, a lot higher.
Yeah, that's just to get us on average with all the surrounding counties. If we went on the lower line, it would be 10% less than whatever number you have. If we went on the higher line, it would be 15% more than what you're about to tell us. And I think we can mix and match tiers. Maybe this tier is at the lower end, this tier is at the higher end.
That would be wild.
So I'm sure that'll happen.
Did you not hear the total amount, Ryan?
I did not.
It's on the screen, Hein.
He might not be able to see it.
2 million, 2.2.
Yeah, 2.2 million.
Yeah,
So
and honestly, I would support.
Who's going to shit a gold brick to make up this money?
Well, I don't think it necessarily has to be technically made. Let me give you a couple scenarios. First of all, this is what I want to caution all these county employees. Just because this study is done this year doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be implemented for the 2025 year, right? Matter of fact, I'm suggesting that we not implement this right away. If we implement anything, for me, I'm going to be lobbying and pushing for our public safety employees to be taken care of and be getting paid where they need to be paid. The people who work 40 hours a week, who don't get to go home if someone calls in because they have to have so many minimum standards met, whether you're a correctional officer, a 911 dispatcher, a sheriff's deputy. Those are the kind of people I think need to be taken care of first. And then we can get to some of the other employees who are valued employees. But let's be real here. They're not the same caliber employees. They don't, if 5 o'clock comes on a Friday, they go home. In these correctional officers, if you're getting ready to go home at 5 o'clock and someone calls in, guess what? Your ass is staying another 8 hours, right? You don't get to go home. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think that we have to bring up all of that. But you ask, where's it going to come from? Number one, I personally think that we can trim 20% of the budget if we put in the work and make the difficult decisions. I've been saying this for at least the last 2 years. I think we have 20% of this $53 million budget is in excess spending that I believe we can eliminate.
Yes.
You just got to make tough decisions and not make our decisions based off of us to help us get reelected or not. And too many times elected officials make their decisions based off of it hurts them or helps them politically. The second thing, we have some revenue coming in this year that we haven't in most normal years. For example, Brad Polk is on pace to bring in $3 million in interest money from the money we have sitting in the bank because our interest rates are so high right now. They're like 8%, 7%, whatever it is. That won't be there every year, but it's there this year. And then Tony, the sheriff, is on pace to bring in about $1.2 million for housing federal inmates. So we have about $4 million that we won't normally have.
Yeah.
But this can get us in trouble because if we make this jump this year, that money may not be there next year. In fact, there's no guarantees that the sheriff will have that $1.2 million every year. And I'll even go a little bit further. I would almost be willing to bet that if this council didn't recognize where that money was coming from and decided to not take care of the public safety employees and use that revenue to pay all the other departments instead, I'm not going to say people are vindictive, but I'm not also going to say that I think that the sheriff's department would be so willing to take on the extra added stresses of housing those federal inmates and generate that $1.2 million if they're not benefiting from it. Why would they do all that if their guys aren't getting the raises? If the money they bring in goes to pay the clerk's office employees raises. Sure. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced that that money will stay there if they're not taken care of the way they need to be. Same thing with 911 guys, we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Muncie that brings in $1 million. So,
yeah. Well, and I mean, the thing that kills me, you saying that you could count, you could cut 20%. I just feel like these people, your fellow counselors, go into these council meetings and they go through the motions of these council meetings and then they leave. And it's just like, okay, well, I don't think about that ever again. They're voting through as fast as they can. Yes. Most of the votes are, as we always talk about, people know they're 6-1 or whatever. Like, I honestly feel after watching any Delaware County Council meeting that I would like to, figuratively now speaking, everyone, I definitely mean no harm to anybody, but figuratively speaking, I would like to take several of your council members and Malcolm McDowell them, Clockwork Orange, and make them re-watch what they've just done. Because I think that if you took any of those people and made them watch again what they did, they would be like, oh yeah, well, we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to spend that. We didn't have to approve that, because the majority of it is absolute horseshit. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. You could cut out right there. No issue.
Here's a question, though. In all the time that you've been on the council, you have pushed for reductions.
Yes.
Cutting this, cutting that, cutting, like you said, 20% out of the budget. Has anything ever been cut?
I spent, not last year, but the year before, I spent 30 minutes on a 14-hour day during the budget session trying to cut the postage budget. Postage, stamps. It was $150,000. I spent 30 minutes trying to take $5,000 off of it and make it go from $150,000 to $145,000. I argued with them all for 30 minutes and lost the argument. We spent 30 minutes on it over $5,000, and I lost it. I still didn't even get that win.
So you've never been able to get them to cut anything?
Yeah. There's been times when I have been able to get them to cut certain things. Like, you present it in a way where they really can't refute it. So I'm not going to say that I've not been able to get them to cut anything. That's not true. I think we've had some success there. Now, I've had to really back them in the corners and really press them and really make them kind of look silly if they went along with it to get them to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I think the other question is, have I ever been able to get them all to vote no against something? I don't think I have. I honestly don't. I mean, I can't. I think the one thing that I can honestly say in my 4 years that I was able to convince the council to vote against was when the commissioners were going to present their what do you call it? The federal money they got. What was all that money?
The ARPA.
Yeah, ARP money, right? The
ARP
$20 million.
money.
When they presented their plan, they did it as a slate.
Thing.
Yeah, there was like 10 projects, and one of those projects was a $4 million Oakville sewer project that only affected like 20 houses. And I was able to make a verbal argument and say, because of this one project, I'm going to vote no on the whole slate. And I was able to convince some of the other council members to come with me, and that forced the commissioners to back off. They withdrew that project from their plan, and then we went ahead and pushed the plan through minus that $4 million project.
Yeah,
that's one of the ones I can think of where I was able to convince them to vote no against something. But for the most part, they just say yes.
That was a pretty big win. And
yeah, that's a great win. But again, that's ARP money, the ARP money. So that's really fuck off money.
Yeah, that was
That's not the regular budget. That's for shits and giggles, we're going to do this because we got money to play with.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean,
So
but
I mean, out of anything, it's a great win and very smart, and I'm proud of you for getting that done. However, as far as budgetary stuff, the day-to-day running of government,
they've been stupid all the other time. I mean,
they've been stupid. They have never given in on any kind of cuts, That's not going to happen now.
Any wins we've got were throughout that budget process.
Yeah.
When you're going over line by line, line item by line item, we might get it to, let's knock this one from 30,000 to 25, or we've been able to do that quite a bit. But as far as whenever they show up in a council meeting and they request money, no, that's a rubber stamp every time. I challenge everyone to go back 2, even 3 years probably, and find something that was on the agenda that someone asked for that the council voted no against. I don't think there is.
For the record, it's been a 6-1 vote. I mean, when you've argued, you've stood against
and maybe you get that $5,000 line item cut, but they're back in there 3 months later asking for 10.
That's an absolute fact. And part of the problem is we don't have a lot of engagement. You know, I catch a lot of heat because I ask too many questions. But you know, like my old boss said, that's where the answers are. And
to be fair, Ryan, if you are in there for more than an hour, they're not making their, $1,200 an hour, rate.
But part of the problem is that we don't get as good engagement. You know, I don't want to call anybody out, but just in this was a pretty detailed, complex.
But you're quitting at the end of the year over this pay cut. So I think you can call out whoever you want to.
Well, anyone watching the video can discern it pretty easily. But, this was very complex stuff that was presented to us today. And there were 2 council members that never uttered one word. Not one word, not one question, nothing.
I don't understand that.
Now, maybe they absorbed it all. And, I guess I'm not going to speculate. Maybe they understood it better than I did. But I know there were a few of us that had multiple questions.
Well, I don't think questions mean you don't understand. I think questions mean you're asking and you're getting to the bottom of things. And I appreciate those of you that ask questions. It's just like Audie was talking the other day about city council. There's 4 councilmen on Muncie City Council that really haven't spoke since January. And it's like, what is going on? So if you're not asking questions, as far as I'm concerned, you're not doing your job there. And so that's crazy. I don't know. When does the budget process start?
So we start that the weekend after Labor Day. So Labor Day weekend, you have that Monday off. We'll take Tuesday off. And then Wednesday and Thursday will be like 12, 14-hour days, like normal. And then same thing on Friday. So that week is when we do it. These guys who are turning in their budget have to have it turned into us by July 1st. So all these different departments who just seen this presentation, they may now have to make a change to their budget that they probably already completed, right? And keep in mind, some of these salary increases don't consider that some of them are mandatory increases, right? The sheriff's salary goes as a mandatory increase.
Yes.
The probation officers has a mandatory increase. Not only that, the judges, and they were all in there today. Judge Cam was in there. Judge Maywar was in there. Not all of them, but a couple of them. They're pressing for us to increase the lit tax.
And talk about that for a second.
Well, it's very simple. I'll never do it.
Well, okay. So say that again, because a bunch of people have been in here griping about taxes and worried about tax go up, rightfully so. You're not saying that you're for, you're not for raising taxes.
No, I've been clear. I've been screaming this from the rooftops in council meetings and outside of council meetings. I will never sign off on raising taxes unless we have done the hard work and went line item by line item and cut the fat, cut the 20%, trimmed the excess positions that don't need to be there, and we've done everything that we possibly can do, then maybe I would consider it. But until we do the hard work that we're paid to do, I don't even want to hear that shit, man. I don't even want to hear it. Yeah. And I've been trying to tell everybody this for 2 years. Oh, he's just saying that for politics. No, bro, it's coming. They're asking for it. They just vice president of the council just had a meeting with the judges a week or 2 ago about this. They're pressing for it. They want it. They are pressing us, saying there's a state law passed that says you guys have the authority to increase the judicial lit tax just so you could pay these specific court employees, right?
How much money does she need?
Well, she's one of the 3 employees, right? But and let's be real, right? if somebody takes that bait and starts this snowball down the hill, if they're going to take the political heat and the pushback that comes with raising taxes, it's not going to be a small amount. They're going to go to the max, right? Because otherwise, why do it? If I'm already taking the heat, going to lose voters, and people are going to bitch and complain about me raising taxes, then I might as well swing for the fences and max it out and just do it once and not have to do it no more. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, there's certain taxes, that lit tax, like, for example, that get split up between the city, the county, and all these different ones. I think there's only like 3 portions of the lit tax that the county actually controls by themselves and gets 100% of the money. Some of the lit tax goes to the city, some of it goes to other towns, but there's I think it's the judicial lit tax, I think it's the public safety lit tax. I think the county controls all of that. So in theory, we could do it. I've made it clear I'll never sign up for it. I'm here for another 7 months. And I don't know if you guys all watched last month's council meeting, but the court administrator, Emily Anderson, got up there and pressed us on it. And I made it clear last month. And I said, I'll never, ever do this. And she said, I know your position, Ryan, but you're just one council member. And I said, I am one council member, but I'm a very, very vocal council member. And I will press every one of these guys sitting up here with me if they go down this path. And that's what I'll do. So I don't have anything to lose for it. So if any of my fellow council members start trying to go down this route, I will put every bit of political pressure on them that I can to persuade them to not do it.
The heat is on. Yeah, I was shocked that she said that to you, because that almost was like, I don't want to say a threat, but it was almost like, we got your number. We know it don't matter. Go against it. We're not counting you anyways. It'll raise just as fine with 6 people. So I couldn't believe she said that so freely. Like, that was just so shocking, and that those people are so ready to do that and willing, and they just don't realize what that means for literally every other person.
The problem is not enough people care about it.
That's right.
The people watching might care. Yeah, we care. I've been screaming this for 2 years. Yeah. I've been saying it when I knock on people's doors. I've been saying it in council meetings on videotape. And I pressed them all to go on the record and say that they wouldn't raise taxes. Do you know not one council member would go on the record and say that they pledged to not raise taxes? Right. I was the only one, right?
Yeah.
And I come in 4th place. So it's obviously not that important to people when they're watching these meetings and they see these council members not pledging to raise taxes, and they vote for them anyway. Not enough people care about it. Either not enough people care about it, or the people who do care aren't voting.
That's right. That's right.
So is the council taking the salary study as a recommendation for what they need to do?
Yeah. What?
I mean, I think I'll be honest with you. I mean, this is all new, and I can't speak for everyone. I think my interpretation is, and I asked that, hey, when are we going to discuss this? Are we going to discuss this at the budget session? And Jessica was like, yeah, we're going to discuss it at the budget. And I was like, well, what about this salary ordinance that this woman just presented to us, urging us to adopt it? And they said, well, we can adopt that at any time. Her and Matt did. And I said, yeah, but if we adopt it, why would we adopt a study that lays out salary that we won't know if we have the money until the budget session? And they told me that the ordinance only adopts the classification and the tier system. It only adopts, there's 2 things. It adopts the job descriptions for each job, right? They're laid out in a certain way, and the classification for those jobs in the tier system. That's what we would be adopting. Then,
yes, but if you don't follow it up with the pay part of things, then you open yourself up to a lawsuit for not paying according to tier.
Well, I mentioned that as well. I said, but if we, I didn't say the lawsuit, but I said, if we then vote for this and say that this is our job description, we might be backing ourselves in a corner. I don't know. It's kind of new. I think everybody's got to digest it. maybe we can get in here and have some conversations and see what everyone thinks about it. I don't know. I know all the employees are pressing us and want us to rush to implement this for next year. I'm trying to get everybody blow the brakes on this and say, let's slow down. Let's see if maybe this is something we implement next year.
Well, 90% of the departments are getting anywhere between a 10% and a 20% raise. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'd be pushing for it too.
Well, that there's so many things that come with that. When you do that, like I said, all the overtime budgets have to go up. The perf, right? The perf all goes up. All that stuff is based off of your salary. So your insurance, your perf, all that stuff is based, not your insurance, but it's basically equal to about whatever your salary is. So when that stuff goes up, all that other stuff goes up. So there's so many things. Your sick days and all that time, any of that stuff. The value of that is going to be more, right? When you have those hours and vacation days, they're going to be, that time's going to go up because 40 hours at what you're making before a vacation isn't the same as 40 hours of what you're going to make now. So all of that stuff is interconnected. It's going to increase.
So the 2.2 million increase is probably more like 3.
I would say at least 3.
Yeah.
With all the stuff.
I'm
trying to lowball it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think it's probably every bit of that. That's not even counting the mandatory increases for different employees.
Right.
I mean, hell, we probably got 2 million on when people are because in addition to this, you're going to have those guys who I've been here 10 years. I've been here 15 years. They want their $1,000 extra. You know, the sheriff's department has guys who, if they've been in the military, they get an extra 1,000, or if they have a college degree, they have an extra 1,000. All of that stuff is going to be on top of this stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is
so
crazy.
basically implementing this gives them an excuse to say, well, we have to raise the lit.
Yeah. That's Mm-hmm.
All along.
Oh, did I hit a sore spot there, Ryan?
Yeah, well, it's not sore for me because I'm not voting for it.
But that's what this is leading up to.
Yeah,
this gets to be an excuse to raise the lit.
That's what it made sense. That's what I thought when he first sent this through and watching that video. I mean, that's what I assumed that this was a push for that.
To me, raising the lit tax is to meet our minimum basic needs. Right. We raised the lit tax to make sure that we're paving our roads, we're building our bridges, we're providing the services that we need to provide, not so our county employees can make more money. Right. This is I want our county employees to make money because when I was growing up, if you worked for the county or city, that was considered a good job. And nowadays it's just a job. So it is my goal to make our county employees much higher paid. But that goal doesn't come with a lit tax increase, right? That if we can't do it by making cuts and trimming positions that we don't need, you know, we've got offices that 10 years ago they laid off, 4 or 5 people in an office, and now little by little those have all been added back, right? Back when the great Jimmy King was a council member, I think they wound up cutting a bunch of positions from the county, and then little by little the council's just added them all back, right? They come every year budget season asking us for more employees every year.
Do you know what the budget is, the overall budget for the county is?
Yeah, a rough guesstimate. It's like, so county general is around 35 million, somewhere around there, and then the overall county budget is like 55 million, and then we have like 20 million in ARP money. So in the bank account, there's like 70 million there, but it's basically 30 to 35 million, and then when you factor in all the other different funds, it winds up being about 55 million. 53 to 55.
So taking out the ARP, the general plus all of the other little offshoots is about 55 million. Because like Al was saying here that Rob Kendall was talking in a video that he had done the other day about how there's 9 million people in Indiana, and we have a state budget of $54 billion. And he was just wanting to know what Delaware County budget was compared to the population of the county. And so Delaware County's population.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. 54 billion. We're at 53 million. There's 92 counties. That's right about in line.
Yeah.
I mean, if there were 100 counties, it'd be easier math.
100. Yeah, right.
92 counties.
Delaware County has 112,000 basically people, 112,031 people in it. And you're saying we have a $55 million budget?
3 to 55, yeah. Yeah.
So
and some of that like can only be spent on certain things. Like, for example, the highway department budget. There's so much money that can only be spent on paving or highway equipment. You can't spend it on salaries, right? Half their budget can only be spent on shit for the highway. They don't. It's built in the law. And you know what? I mentioned this earlier, and I was saying how the council needs to, and the commissioners, we need to make the tough decisions. No one wants to make the tough decisions because they're scared of the political blowback. Not to mention, they get close to these county employees and we all become friends, so they don't want to make tough decisions. But the reason we're even in this position, why you have some employees working 40 hours and some employees working 32 and a half, is because 10, 20 years ago, whatever it was, somebody had this great idea. Let's go to a 4-day work week, because they couldn't pay for everything. So they thought, go to a 4-day work week and it would save money or whatever. And after about 6 months or however long it was, now the sheriff's department guys, all those guys, they still had to work their 40-hour week. But the people at the county building, they got to work Monday through Thursday. Well, after so many months, they finally figured out this is a freaking disaster. This ain't working. We have to go back to 5-day work week. Well, now what do you got? Now you got a bunch of employees who've gotten used to making the same salary in 4 days. They don't want to go work 5 days and get the same damn paycheck, right? So what do? They said, okay, we'll do this. We'll base your pay off 32 and a half hours of pay per week. So basically your lunch is free every day, right? When you go in and you work at 8 to 4, you clock out at noon and go to lunch or whatever. They literally work 8 to 4. They go for their hour lunch, but that's paid. Yeah. Right. That's how that works. And if the employees and the county council, the commissioners would have just ripped the damn Band-Aid off and said, look, I don't know what to tell you. This is what it is. We tried the 4-day. It didn't work. Tough shit. We're going back to 5-day. You did it just a few months ago. Nothing's changed. It is what it is. If you don't like it, go work somewhere else. That's what they should have done. But instead they caved and they let them have that 32 and a half hour work week.
Yeah. Do you know what the current lit rate is?
Yes, it's 1.5%. And what I was trying to do is I wanted to make it the lowest in the state. I wanted to eliminate it completely, but at minimum I wanted to lower it to the lowest in the state at 0.5%. So I wanted to cut it by 2/3.
Yeah.
And that was my goal.
Yeah, well, so I would say if you escape out of this 4 years without raising it, you will have done something. Before we go, I know we've had you on here a long time, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I just want to ask you this because, and this has got nothing to do. Well, I guess it kind of does, but a couple people have asked if you know I know what the answer is to this, but if you know what's going on with the recount deal.
So they've assigned a new judge for it. All the Delaware County judges recused themselves. Now I've seen some of my haters. They've painted that picture like, oh, this is so bad. They've all recused themselves. They recused themselves because it's a conflict of interest. Number one, I am on the council that sets their salaries for their people. Yeah. Right? They work with us during the budget session. So they were never, no county judge in Delaware County was ever going to hear this case. Yeah. We had to file in Delaware County. They then recused themselves. That's the process. idiots will try to spin that to make it more than it is. So long story short.
Wait, what were they saying? What were they saying? Were they saying that they were recusing themselves and that was good for you and they were scared? Or were they saying they were recusing themselves because they didn't want to be involved with you?
Charlize tried to imply that it was such ridiculous claim that all the judges around here wouldn't even take it. They were recusing themselves because it was just so unworthy of even being heard because it was related to me. That was what Charlize was trying to spin, knowing damn well that that's not true.
No,
that was nothing but a lie.
They did right. There was an order that was I think Mayor wrote it up, and it just basically said that.
Yeah, he recused on behalf of the others.
Yeah,
he did it for them. They
because
all didn't have a say in it.
He was the court that it was filed in, and he basically and they all had a few. I mean, basically they all have the same legitimate reason, which is they are all paid by the Delaware County budget, and that comes before the council. You're on the council, yada yada yada, and so they want to remove the appearance of impropriety there. Then a couple of them said, "Well, we were candidates on the same ballot. We were the Republican candidate. We were a Democrat candidate. You know, we are friends through the Republican Party. You know, various things." And that's common. It happens in Delaware County. It's happened in Randolph County. It happens pretty much anytime something like this happens. That's a very common thing. So,
yeah. So they recused themselves, and a judge out of Blackford County accepted the case. I don't know how you say his name. Body. Okay. Yep. Body. And that was on like the 30th, and we haven't heard anything since. Now I did reach out to County Clerk Rick Spangler. I think it was this morning, and I said, "Hey, man, what the hell's going on? What's going on with this recount? What do you know?" And he said he hadn't heard anything. He responded, he said, "I've not heard nothing either." I said, "Well, we've only got like 5 days left because the deadline is supposed to be on the 20th, and then you have a holiday. You got Juneteenth in there, I think, on the 19th. Yes. So when you figure out the available days, it's only like 4 or 5 days." And Clerk Spangler told me, he said, "Well, I think I might have made an error when I said it had to be done by the 20th. I think it might be the 28th, is what Rick told me in writing." So, okay. And then he added, "Hey, I want to get this done as soon as possible as well." And I said, "Great." I said, "Do me a favor. If you, hold on, my niece is here. Let me open the door for her." I said, if you hear anything on this, you let us know."
Yeah.
Seriously? I know she's here. All right. Hey, lift them out back real fast, please. So anyway, so I said, if you hear anything, let us know. And he never responded, but I assume he would. He would let me know. So
okay, well, we'll
and also I wanted to address something else with that roll of tax as well, because you had read something on there. I haven't been able to see it about the payment. When I've looked on my case, I've not seen it, but you saw it. And apparently Rick had put on there, or the clerk's office had put on there, that the payment, the bond to secure the recount hadn't been paid. Okay. So I want to clarify that.
Yeah. Talk about that. So
this recount, and people say, "Oh, Ryan wants to lose twice. Ryan's a sore loser. He wants to, I can't wait for him to lose a second time because he wants to overturn the election." Listen, this recount is requested to me by the people. Yeah, I'm not the one who went saying, "Hey, I demand a recount." People were calling me, reaching out to me, saying, "Hey, we need to do a recount, and I will put money towards that." So the community members put the money up, right? They put the money forward to get the amount we needed to do the recounts, about $800. Okay, I then went and filed the recount. When I went to the county clerk's office to file the recount, first of all, the clerk told me, "Can't do it here." Not the clerk, the lady in the clerk's office.
Yeah.
I said, "No, I'm pretty sure I can. I'm pretty sure this is the spot." She turns around and asks somebody, and they say, "Yeah, they can do it here." Cool. So she does it. Takes like 20 minutes, right? She's taking forever. She comes up to me. I got all the money there with me. She says, "All right, honey, here you go." And she staples the stuff and hands it to me. And I said, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, there you go. I said, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to pay you something. She's like, no, you're good. It's all done. I said, no, I'm almost certain.
And you hadn't paid any money at this point.
I hadn't paid nothing. I hadn't
Okay.
paid anything. And I said, I'm almost certain I have to at least give you $100 because the recount says it's $100. Now, just for backstory, the recount says it's $100 for the first 10 precincts, and they could charge you $10 per precinct after that. So I didn't know if they were going to charge us the $10 per precinct or not, but we had the money just in case they did. So when I told her, no, I think I at least have to give you $100, I was basing that off of, I know that's the minimum to get the recount started. She then turns and asks the lady behind her, is he supposed to pay me something? The lady, obviously more experienced behind her, says, oh yeah, he has to pay, it's like $157 or something like that. So she then brings me up for that. And I said, now you're sure this is all I have to pay you? Yeah, honey, you're good to go. I said, because my paperwork here says $10 for the recount, $10 each additional precinct. We had a whole list of precincts, and I had a total, and I read it off to her. She said, well, I don't have anything for that. I said, okay, I just want to make sure that no one comes to me later and says this recount's invalid. You didn't pay the money, because I'm trying to pay you the money right now. She didn't take the money. She didn't know how to take the money. So I was a little surprised when Chris looked on my case later, and Rick had added on notes to it that said that the bond hadn't yet been secured. And I thought that was a little funny, because we tried to secure it. Your incompetent clerk couldn't let me secure it. So you know what? I still got the money sitting here in the bag, ready to pay it. For all those who donated the money to make it happen, we've got the money. Whether or not those, and look, this is the whole point of the recount. People say, oh, Ryan wants to try to change the election. Look, guys, and I appreciate those who support me. I really do. But it's, when I say a long shot, it is a long shot that anything's going to overturn this election, right? Because it's 68 votes. That's a lot of votes. But that's not what this is about. This is about holding them accountable, making sure they're doing their shit the right way. This process I just explained to you is the exact reason why we need to do a recount. This lady told me that wasn't the place to file when it was the place to file. This lady told me that I didn't have to pay anything when I obviously had to pay a filing fee. This lady told me I didn't need to pay for the recount when I obviously needed to pay for the recount. I'm having to insist on paying for these things. So if they don't know how to do that basic shit, then maybe there's other things in the election that office don't know how to do. You know, because when you get in a routine and you're doing something and no one's challenged you on it, for all we know, they've been doing stuff wrong for years, and they have no clue because no one's ever done a formal recount with them to point these things out. Yes, there was one a year or so ago with District 4, but that was a handful of precincts. So there's a lot of opportunity for error in a general election. You got an initial each ballot, right? On the absentee ballots, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong. So while I admit it's an absolute long shot, I don't have any confidence at all in that office. So you never know.
Listen, Spangler's since Spangler has been in office, there has been a problem with the filing process and or immediately following the filing process, the election board process, and the vote counting, taking, and distributing after the fact process in every election that Spangler has been a part of. And people cannot like me for saying that, but all you got to do is go back and look at what's happened and go back. I mean, I don't know if people just don't remember these things, or they forget, or they don't want to think about them, but there were all sorts of people that were filing. You had Steve Smith that filed to run for mayor, councilor, and those district councilor. Then they kicked him off of everything. Then they put him back on. And Rick saying, "I've got the paperwork over here. I looked at it the other day in the election board." Rick says, "This was our first election, and we fumbled the ball on this. We will not do this again." And then literally they fumbled the ball every election after that.
And
So,
this is
yeah,
the first year with new equipment.
with
They've
new
never
equipment.
used this equipment. They had problems with the equipment. There are problems. So again, like I said, I don't think we're going to overturn anything, but we have an opportunity to show that either they're on the ball and they're doing their stuff right, and we can all rest and say, okay, we got faith in them, they're doing it right. Or we're going to point out that whether they overturn anything or not, we're going to point out, hey, man, you guys have kind of messing some things up here. Get your stuff together, right? So I'll give you an example. When Chris pulled all of the last year, all of the candidates filing paperwork, you've got veteran after veteran, experienced politician, one after another who filed that paperwork, had filed year after year after year. And you know what? Every one of those had errors on it. So these people are, they're filing year after year after year, but they assume they're filing it right. But because no one's ever checking them and challenging them on it, they were probably putting those same errors in every single year.
Yeah.
Look at King's paperwork this year. He didn't itemize nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's probably the way he's always done it.
Yeah.
So who's to say that maybe there's things they're doing in that office that they've always done it that way, and we determined that, you're not supposed to do it that way. May not change nothing, but going forward, you need to fix that and make sure you're doing it the right way.
Well, it just lets him know. You got to go back to the election board meeting this year when I'm sitting across from Rick and he says, why are you always up here causing problems? Who's saying that? When literally he's like, well, you or your minions come up here and challenge people. I've never challenged anybody ever in Delaware County. This is the first year I've ever challenged anybody, and I've never had anybody ever challenge anybody. If we want to talk about minions challenging people, that would be Charlie Richmond. That would be Dave, the Dave guy that's charging.
Richmond.
Challenging people for the party. And it's okay when they do it, but then they question when we do it. When they're questioning, when Ryan goes to the clerk's office and says, hey, I would like to know what the process is, and the clerk throws him out of the office, it's like, that's not a normal reaction. Why is that a reaction?
And he absolutely, for those of you who may not know the story, he lost his shit, man. He flipped out. Like, you would have thought that I said his mom was a Nazi or something. Like, this guy lost his mind on me for just asking for the packet. And, slammed the door. There were 50 people out in the line paying property taxes. They all heard the whole thing. And so it's not a very good representation for Delaware County.
No, it's not.
I got the reputation. I'm the hothead. I'm the guy who's inappropriate, but I'm speaking him the same way I'm speaking to you guys right now. And he's freaking losing his mind, slamming his door like my teenagers when they run to the room when they're mad and slam the door. And that don't happen that often because I don't tolerate that shit. But with Rick, I just laughed at him and left and went on my way.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, and I normally wouldn't talk about this, but we've talked about this live many times, that Rick having all these problems has always in the past been somebody who I have had a decent relationship with, has always been respectful, has always been polite to me. And then something about 2 years ago changed. He went crazy and things started not being okay. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because it was made public the other day. It was put on social media. I guess Rick and his wife had went to Florida and he wasn't feeling very well, and they ended up going into the hospital, and he had like massive blockage, and they went in and they had done a whatever, put a stent in, and they said that it saved his life. I mean, he was going to die. And they had caught it in time and everything was good. And they've all talked about how everything feels so much better and he's back to being better. So I'm hoping that maybe because everyone said, like, we jokingly said, like, man, I wonder if there's something health-wise going on because he changed. I'm hoping maybe that's done because you said you contacted him and he was a little bit better. He responded to you normally. Hopefully maybe he's back at himself. I don't know.
Mean, that was via text. That was text. The
okay,
other exchange was face-to-face.
Face-to-face, sure.
You know, I've never had any incidents with Rick. He's always
Yeah.
had that all shucks demeanor with me.
Yeah.
Never had no conflicts or in any
Right.
way. So I don't know. Maybe he just didn't like. Maybe he didn't like feeling like this was a shot against his department. I
Sure.
gave the offer. For those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
I contacted him and I said, "Hey, I want to recount. There were issues with the machines. This is the first time we had them. How about you call for the recount and you make Microvote pay for it since their machine was the one that malfunctioned in precinct 90?" And I said, this way, you or I get the recount I'm searching for, and you get to avoid the appearance that your department is somehow being questioned. And it's a win-win. And he sent me a text back and said that he talked to the board and that they didn't have no interest in doing that. That Microvote doesn't think that their machine, even though it did mess up, they don't think it had any effect on the election, and that they had no interest whatsoever in doing a recount. Is what he sent me back, and I said okay. And that was literally he texted me that 5 minutes before I walked in and filed for the recount. I was on my way to do it when he texted me that, and this is a full 3 days after I had sent him that text. So he
Yeah.
waited 3 days to respond, and when he responded, I was 5 minutes away from filing. So
That's amazing.
That's how that goes.
Well, it is what it is. We'll keep watching. I will call the Secretary of State's office tomorrow and get a ruling on when that date is. The 20th is Thursday. The 28th is a Friday following, so it would make sense it being on the 28th, but I will call the Secretary of State's office tomorrow and get a ruling on that. If you hear anything, let us know, and we will go from there. I appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And if there's anything that we can do between now and whenever, we'll do that. We'll definitely have to have you back on and see what goes on from here.
Yeah, and I appreciate you calling because you know I'm going to be very busy these next couple weeks. You know, I work about 70 hours a week for my
Yeah.
job. You know, I haul ass to get back, just like today. You know, I had to fly back to get back for this meeting, but I work about 70 hours a week for my job. And this weekend, I don't know, I'm sure many of you watching understand this is the Republican delegates state convention. Now, I've never attended a state convention before as a delegate. However, last year I was the guest speaker along with General Michael Flynn for the Oklahoma State Delegates Convention for the Republicans. Me and Michael Flynn was guest speakers for that, so I did participate in that. This is going to be my first time as an actual delegate getting to experience it. So I'm looking forward to that. That's this weekend. We're going to go up Friday, do all the stuff, and then, you know, next day we do all the voting. So for those of you who are delegates, I look forward to seeing you there. It should be an experience. I don't ever plan on doing it again. I wanted to learn the experience of it and, you know, just go through the motions of it. I probably won't ever run for it ever again. But it was cool to do, and I plan on doing that. The very following week, again, that Friday, which is my baby's birthday, she turns 2, I'm going to race home from work again, and then I'm going to kiss my baby for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to haul ass back down to Indianapolis for another weekend for the state called County Council's convention. And people say, well, what are you going to that for? You're done after this year. Look, when I signed up for a 4-year term, I still got 7 more months. We have a state convention where all the county council members in the entire state will be. And I plan on attending that. Now, I'll probably leave the event early on Saturday because I'm going to make it back for my daughter's birthday party. Same thing I did last year on her first birthday party, but I will be down there for that. So we got a busy week scheduled. And you know, we're still doing what we're doing. So we're involved. We're bringing the information to you guys. We're asking the tough questions. We're going to the events that we need to be at, and I'm going to continue doing this for the rest of the year. And who knows? You know, maybe I'll fade off in the sunset, or maybe I'll be back. Maybe I'll be back before you know it. You never know.
You never know. That's very good. If you didn't know, check out the Mouthwash podcast. It's over by now, I'm sure, but they apparently were going to have Julie McGuire on tonight. And I'm very interested in what she has to say because she's obviously a candidate for lieutenant governor, and she's not been saying much without Braun. So I'm interested to hear what she's going to say. Matter of fact, that's what I was talking about earlier in the show, everybody. That's what we're going to be looking at tomorrow to see what she says and to see if Mouthwash asks her questions, what goes on, or if it's a, just kind of a patty cake game, whatever goes on there. But definitely check that out. Yeah, you'll have to let us know what goes on down at the convention, because I'll definitely be following that.
I like those Mouthwash guys. I was a guest on Mouthwash last year. Earlier, we did an episode, and Curtis Hill was on with me.
Yeah,
so, that was pretty cool. We did a cool episode. Those are cool guys at Mouthwash.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm open to it. I know that Julie and Micah. I'm looking forward to making my pick. I'll tell you, I'll be straight up. I'm voting for the most right-wing conservative candidate there is. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like we got enough lefties and people in the middle. The only way to bring that pendulum back is to go further to the right. And it is what it is. So I tend to, as much as I like Braun, I don't like giving politicians everything they want.
Yeah.
And I know that's his pick.
Yeah. If you're going for that direction, it would have to be Micah. Micah's going to be that pick over Miss Republican Party HRCC PAC $500,000 to beat John Jacobs.
Yeah. And I like John Jacobs, so I already kind of hold that against her anyway.
Right. Right. All right. Well, thank you for coming on and talking with us, and we will have to have you on again then.
I appreciate it. You guys know how to reach me. My phone number is the same. Give me a call. Take care.
All right. Thank you, sir. Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there he was. We brought him back on. That was Delaware County Councilor, America's Councilman, Ryan Webb, at-large county councilor for Delaware County, going over the salary study. I'm going to tell you guys, if you're in Delaware County, if you have not watched today's special meeting, I would highly recommend jumping on YouTube and watching it. We did not live stream it, primarily because I forgot that it was happening until 3:00 today. I did not know it was happening, but we don't need to live stream it because it's on YouTube. You can go to, let's see here. You can go and pick this up on Delaware County government right there. It's the Delaware County Council special meeting, June 11th, 2024. And check that thing out. It's going to be very interesting. So that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you sticking with us. This was kind of a long and it was in the weeds, but very important show. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care of yourselves. Tomorrow is Wednesday already. That means it's Board of Works Day. I will be at the Board of Works meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. to listen to what they've got to say. Hopefully Ted has some information for us, so I will be back there. You guys, we won't live stream it, but we will talk about it a little bit in the evening, and then we'll look at what we're going to do. So you guys have a good rest of your evening. Take care of yourselves. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you back here at the same bat time. Oh, real quick, before we roll out of here, I do have to announce, we were not here last night. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of June, 2024. And that means this is the 162nd day without a response from Councilor Dale Basham. Dale Basham has not responded or spoke to the show through direct communication, email, phone call, phone message, text message, Facebook Messenger, has not answered questions, has not said anything, just in direct response to anything spoken in 162 days. Obviously, the first day was the first day of his term, January 1st, 2024. So we can put this down and watch this until he does speak, and we'll be interested to see how far this will go. So you guys have a great evening. Go down there, hit the like button, hit the share, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, take care. Good night. Goodbye.